deglycerinized licorice. So licorice, the candy can irritate the stomach sometimes, but they remove a component of it. It's not glycerin, it's glycer. It's a longer word that sounds like grissom with a couple of other syllables. But anyway, they removed that from it. DGL, deglycerinized licorice, is also very immediate relief. It is a little chewable tablet. I have it here that immediately relieves the heartburn as well. So, and slowly reduces the inflammation so it can heal over time. Yeah. Any other questions? Doesn't even have to be, if there's no other questions about acid reflux, any other health related questions at all? Connie? With vitamin C, do anything to So yes, ascorbic acid is pretty weak. It's not really going to, again, the reflux is caused by hydrochloric acid in your stomach. Oh, oh yeah, so that, thank you. Restore stomach acid. How do you do that? So the acid that your stomach makes, the parietal cells in the stomach make hydrochloric acid. That's a pretty strong acid. And some acids are stronger than others, but all acids have different strengths as well. So vinegar comes in different strengths. But the hydrochloric acid in your stomach is really, really strong. It could eat right through your stomach if you didn't have those mucus cells protecting the stomach from it. But you can also, so when I do blood tests on people and their protein is low and their calcium is low and their magnesium is low, and they're eating plenty of protein, that's guaranteed they're deficient in hydrochloric acid. And I give them supplemental hydrochloric acid in capsules. It comes from beets. It's called betaine, which means beet, hydrochloric acid. And when you take that, now your stomach can start breaking down the protein and B12 and iron and calcium and magnesium. And some of those nutrients are the same ones that the parietal cells in the stomach need to make hydrochloric acid. So you don't have to take it forever, usually 4 to 6 months, and then your stomach will start making more on its own.
They say beets also helps blood pressure?
There's a lot of things in beets. Yeah, the antioxidants.
Pretty good for you.
Absolutely. Superfood. Anything purple or blue or dark color like that. That's why berries are so helpful. So yeah, you can restore the hydrochloric acid that way, and that also causes the lower esophageal sphincter to lock down tight. So I have lots of people who come in with GERD, and the first thing I give them is hydrochloric acid. Stop taking the antacids and take more acid so that the sphincter will close and keep the acid in your stomach. But what if it's really bad already, or what if I have to take omeprazole every morning? Well, most people who take Prevacid or Nexium or omeprazole either take it first thing in the morning or right before bed, or sometimes both. A lot of people just take it once a day. And so I'll tell them, okay, if you're taking your Nexium first thing in the morning, that's okay, but then take betaine hydrochloric acid with lunch and with dinner. So you can absorb the protein and vitamins and minerals in that meal and slowly get your stomach to start working again, and then eventually wean yourself off of the meds. Yeah.
Where do we find information about you?
Well, what information about me?
Anything. I know they're going to ask what qualifies them, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, okay. Well, so on the radio show, in fact, the show I just recorded that's going to be on the air this Friday, I talk a little bit about my history, but is the video still on? Okay, so for those who haven't heard anything about my background before, I've been in practice since 1989. I studied biology and chemistry at the University of Kansas, and grad school is Palmer College of Chiropractic. Some people call Palmer the Harvard of chiropractic because it's where the profession was founded back in 1895. I had classmates, students from all over the world, because it's a big demand for people. Anybody in another part of the world that wants to become a chiropractor, they usually go to Palmer. So it was a lot of fun to go to school there, because I had really met a lot of really interesting people from all over the world. And if you really want to know if any doctor is abreast of the stuff that I'm talking about now, don't ask them where they went to school. Ask them what seminars they took in the last 5 years. All doctors have to take seminars every year to maintain their licenses. And those continuing education seminars are in hotels all over the country. And that's where we learn the latest stuff, all the latest research and all the latest things that you can do to help people with acid reflux, for example. So I go to 2 or 3 times a year, go to a weekend seminar to learn about this stuff. It used to be you had to subscribe for $200 or $300 a month to the Journal of the American Medical Association and all these different journals if you're interested in a lot of things. But now all of that stuff is online. So I get probably 30 or 40 emails a week on all the latest research that's coming out online. And then I can go find those studies in the original journals or on PubMed. PubMed is the colloquial term for the National Institutes of Health website that publishes almost all available research around the world. Is available for free on PubMed. So I look up things on that, and yeah, that's where I keep abreast of all the latest things. And
All this is on YouTube also?
all of what specifically?
Your history.
No, I don't put that on every video. People that ask me about my background, it is going to be on this video that we're recording right now, and on this week's radio show, I also mentioned that. And if anybody has questions, they can text me, email me anytime. They can text Victoria. Her number's on the website. They can go to the website and look through a little bit of my background on there, binkleyhealingcenter.com. But yeah, I welcome anyone to shoot me an email if they have a question. How do you know how to treat this? Or have you ever helped anybody with this? Anything like that. Shoot me an email and I'd be happy to talk to them. I have patients all over the country, for example, that I have never met. I send them a 7-page questionnaire. They send that back to me. I review that with them on the phone and then send them to LabCorp in their local town, get the results back online, and then call them and go over the results and either send them to their local health food store or ship them products or hook them up with a company called FullScript where they can order the top shelf products online with free shipping. And yeah, I have people all over in almost every state that I've helped with that.
And tonight's, what you just did tonight will be on the internet when?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, we'll post it on YouTube tonight. It'll be on there tomorrow. Sometimes it takes a little while for it to upload.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Anything else? Anybody? Any health related topic? Yep.
Is taking
Cindy?
too many supplements okay? I mean,
Well, so there's some things that you really can't take too much of. Like it's really hard to take too much vitamin C or too much vitamin D, too much of any of the B vitamins because they're mostly water soluble and pass right through. Your body does store B12. There's a hysteria in the medical profession, especially thinking that you can take too much vitamin D. Why is that? So the only way you can tell if you're taking the right amount of vitamin D, as an example, is to get the blood test, and you want your vitamin D level to be between 50 and 90. Well, if you go to Quest or go to LabCorp or any standard lab, the normal range will be printed as 30 to 100. And that's recent. It used to be 20 to 100. So if you just go ask your doctor to order your vitamin D test, don't ask them if it's fine because they'll say it's fine if it's above 20 or 30. And you really want it to be above 50. You want it to be between 50 and 90. So always ask for the number. Most doctors will order that for you now if you ask, but you don't always want to ask them what the number is because you want it to be between 50 and 90. The RDAs for vitamins, the recommended daily allowance. Does anybody know what those are about? Those are the amount you need to stay healthy, right? No. Ignore the RD, the minimum to prevent a severe deficiency disease. So the vitamins themselves, vital amines, were discovered in the early 20th century, about 100 years ago. They discovered that if you didn't have a minimum amount of vitamin C, you'd get scurvy, right? So that's when they started providing citrus fruit to sailors to prevent their teeth from falling out because you need vitamin C to synthesize collagen. So anything made out of collagen will disintegrate if you don't get enough vitamin C. So the minimum amount you need of vitamin C to prevent scurvy is 60 milligrams on average for most people. So the RDA for vitamin C is 60 milligrams. Well, the minimum amount of vitamin D you need to keep your bones from collapsing is about 400 units. So the RDA for vitamin D is 400 units. If you're over 60 or pregnant, it's 600, sometimes 800 for certain populations. But if you want to maintain your bloodstream between 50 and 90, most people need to take 5,000 units a day, every day. That's the standard adult dose, or even kids that weigh more than 60 or 70 pounds. 1,000, a lot of times people say, oh yeah, I'm taking vitamin D. Well, how much? Well, I don't know, 1,000 or 2,000. Well, those are 1,000's for infants. You can give a newborn infant 1,000 units of vitamin D every day. And, a toddler, 2,000. And if, 30, 40 pounds, 3,000, 4,000, most people need to take 4 to 5,000 a day to maintain that healthy level. And so what's that for? For your immune system mainly. It will make it much less likely that you'll end up with osteoporosis because vitamin D is essential to keep calcium in circulation. But the main reason is to keep your immune system strong. Your immune system relies on vitamin D to maintain its peak ability to fight off any infectious agent and to switch from the breakdown and destruction mode. When you get a cold, you get all this inflammation, to break down and to kill the bugs and break down damaged tissue if you get an injury. And then it needs to switch back to heal and repair. And vitamin D mediates that both sides of that process of healing and repair. So yeah, having, if people say, um, just kind of a little bit off topic, but when people ask me about vitamins and minerals, there's three things I recommend everybody take. That is a good multivitamin, a couple of grams of fish oil, and 5,000 units of vitamin D. Well, everybody's heard that multivitamins are useless, right? Most multivitamins, one a day multivitamins, are useless. Why? Because they're one pill. The main reason to take a multivitamin is because most people don't get enough minerals. Most people don't get enough selenium and chromium and zinc and molybdenum and germanium and magnesium and calcium in their diet, in their food. There's not as many minerals in the soil or organic food is grown in these days. So most people are deficient in those minerals, and that shows up when I test their blood. So a good multivitamin is almost always at least 3 and usually 4 capsules a day, because the minerals that are like the plant-like ones that our bodies are used to absorbing take up space. They won't fit into one pill. So you can stick the one a day multivitamins have minerals that are just from ground up rocks and seashells. In the case of the calcium, they're basically just dirt. They're just minerals that are mined from the surface of the earth. Well, if you stick a broccoli plant in that same dirt, it will bind up those minerals in the parts of the broccoli plant that we eat, and our digestive systems are familiar with absorb from for over hundreds of thousands of years. Our bodies have adapted to absorbing minerals from plants. And so those forms of minerals are easy to break apart in the digestive system and assimilate. They also take up space. So they won't fit. The dirt will fit into a reasonable amount of dirt that you can test in the chemistry lab to show that it has this tiny amount of calcium and zinc and all the other minerals that are on the label. Those are in the pill. Doesn't mean they'll enter your bloodstream. Sometimes you can see those pills on x-rays just passing through your digestive tract undisturbed. So the biggest waste of money on any supplement is the one that your body does nothing with. It just goes right through your digestive tract into the sewer. And so for that reason, that is why most one a day multivitamins are useless, and good multivitamins are usually 3 or 4 capsules a day for the minerals. You can get vitamins from food. Most people don't get enough minerals. So is it possible to take too much of what else?
Calcium.
The wrong kind of calcium, yes. Now that many people are getting enough vitamin D, there was one study that came out about 4 or 5 years ago that said, oh my God, if you take calcium, it's going to increase your hardening of the arteries, because the plaques in your arteries are made of fibrin, the scar tissue, mainly fibrin, scar tissue, and calcium. Sorry, scar tissue, which is fibrin, same thing, calcium, and cholesterol. Well, cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease. It just increases the size of the plaques that you already have. So inflammation causes the little micro tears that cause the scabs, the plaques, to form in the first place. So that's why a study of 53,000 people that showed up in hospitals with heart attack or stroke had normal or low cholesterol, because cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease. If inflammation causes heart disease, inflammation causes little micro tears in the lining of your blood vessels. Your body heals those little micro tears with a scab that then attracts that scar tissue, and that scar tissue attracts calcium and cholesterol, and that's what forms the plaques. So if you don't have a lot of those tears, you can have high cholesterol cruising through your bloodstream. It won't stick to the walls and increase the size of your plaques. If you have a lot of those plaques from a lot of inflammation, then even a small amount of cholesterol, a normal amount of cholesterol, can still have you at high risk of heart disease, which is why most medical doctors are telling people to take statin drugs till their cholesterol is below 100. The normal is 200. It used to be 240. The normal for total cholesterol used to be 240 a few years ago, and they lowered it to 200 when statin drugs came out so they can put everyone on Lipitor. Well, some doctors are now dosing the Lipitor, any other statin drug, Pravachol, Zocor, until your total cholesterol is 100, which is crazy. Cholesterol is an essential nutrient. The normal is not 0. It's not 100. Cholesterol is the basic building block of testosterone, of estrogen, of progesterone, of all your cell membranes. It is essential. And the level in your blood, 2/3 of that is made by your liver. Only 1/3 of it, on average, most people, is the amount that you're eating in your food. So if you have adequate vitamin D and eat crappy calcium carbonate, so most calcium, 90% plus percent of calcium supplements, especially if they're from Costco or some cheap source, are calcium carbonate. So read your labels. If any of your supplements have calcium carbonate in them, don't feed them to your dog. Don't give them to a friend. Throw them away, because nobody should eat calcium carbonate. Well, if you go to the store and look, that's what's in almost all calcium supplements. So the good form is bisglycinate. Citrate is okay. You will see calcium citrate supplements in some stores. And that's okay. That's much better than calcium carbonate, but it's just not as effective as the bisglycinate form, the malate form, hydroxyapatite form, especially for maintaining bone density. So the one that I use is by Orthomolecular Products, and it has all four. It has malate, bisglycinate, hydroxyapatite, and a little bit of citrate. Gluconate is another good form for certain reasons, and there's a situation that occurs sometimes in the microbiome. Some bad bacteria are fought off by calcium glucarate. So that's one reason. That's the most common reason to use that, but it is also a reasonable reason. Yeah, you're not going to see that in stores. Yeah. So I have that. I use that for when I do stool tests on people. Some of the bad bacteria that will show up on a stool test respond to that to help fight it off. Yeah.
I'm taking your calcium,
Yes.
and my tests for my bone density came back much better.
Excellent.
I'm going to continue with your calcium so that it'll help reverse.
So yeah, I've had probably several score, maybe 100, maybe probably more than 100 over the past few years, where I've given them the good calcium, adequate vitamin D, and adequate K2, and gone from osteoporosis back to osteopenia, or osteopenia back to normal. If that doesn't happen, then I'll often recommend more of the K2. So vitamin D keeps calcium in circulation. K2 escorts it into your bones. So that's why you need both. And I'll often recommend one supplement that has both the vitamin D and the vitamin K in one pill. So it makes it easy. Um, I forgot to finish that last part. The reason that study came out that said calcium can increase your incidence of hardening of the arteries is because more people are taking vitamin D now to keep calcium in circulation, but they're still taking crappy calcium carbonate. Well, you don't want to keep ground up rocks and seashells circulating in your body, because that is more likely to stick to any existing plaques that you have and make them slightly thicker. It was a very slight finding, but really it's just a reason to not take calcium carbonate, because that will never happen if you take the plant-like forms of calcium. So it's very difficult to take too much calcium bisglycinate, hydroxyapatite, malate, glucarate.
What about glutathione?
So glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. So it helps your body remove toxins. When I do chemical toxic panels, for example, when somebody has a overabundance of glyphosate or other chemical pesticides and fertilizers, or industrial chemicals, petrochemicals, glutathione is one of the things that helps your body flush, detoxify, and with your liver flush those things out more efficiently. And it also helps with liver function generally. It helps with your immune system. Is dependent on anything that reduces, any antioxidant will also reduce inflammation. They go hand in hand. So reducing the abundance of reactive oxygen species is the technical term. That's what antioxidants do. That will also lower inflammation from any cause. So yeah, I use glutathione a lot for patients that have those needs. And there's lots of different ways to get it. The best way is to either take a liposomal form or to take precursors of glutathione. So there's a product called Immunocal that has a specially processed whey protein. So it's not like the whey protein stuff that you get to build muscles, because the special process involves no agitation and no heat. Well, that's how they process almost everything that's made into a powder. But the shape of a protein actually affects its functions. When you process whey protein without any heat and without any agitation, any grinding or milling or shaking, then it preserves this structure of the protein that becomes a good cysteine donor. Your body makes glutathione from cysteine, glycine, and glutamine, and it's easy to get two of those from food. The limiting factor is usually the cysteine, which is why people take N-acetylcysteine. That's known as an antioxidant. N-acetylcysteine is really a precursor for glutathione. The reason N-acetylcysteine helps is because it helps your body make more glutathione. So yeah, it's pretty difficult to take too much of that too. But most of the time, if you just get capsules of glutathione, doesn't really work. There's some people that make a reduced form. Orthomolecular makes one of those. There's a couple other companies that can still be beneficial in capsule form. But most of the time, I either recommend that precursor product or a liposomal, which is a liquid that you spray, and it's a liposome. Lipo means fat, some means body. That's where they take a nutrient in a liquid, put it in an ultrasound machine, and shake it so that the nutrient ends up bound up in these tiny little nano-sized particles that are surrounded by fat, so they go through cell membranes really easily.
So you recommend immunocal?
I recommend Immunical, yes, to a lot of people. Yep.
If people are reasonably healthy and completely ignorant of all this stuff, where do you suggest they start to remain healthy?
Do just a basic consultation. So the first step with anybody who's interested in this, they want to find out. I have lots of people that don't have any symptoms, and the first box on my form is just, I want to have general good health. I want to have a checkup. The initial consultation usually takes a half an hour. A consultation with me is $300 an hour, but most of the time it just takes a half an hour, so it's $150. I send them a 7-page form to fill out. They send that back to me or bring it in if they're local, and I review that questionnaire because most people have 2 or 3 things they're concerned about. When you fill out the 7-page questionnaire, you're going to think about all the other things, and I want to know about all those too because everything affects everything else. So we go over all that, and then I'll be able to tell you what are the most important tests for you to do. I usually recommend this 80-point or this 58-point blood panel that I do on everyone. I tell people all the time with functional medicine, you can identify conditions that other doctors miss by doing tests that most doctors don't do. So this 58-point blood panel, if you get your doctor to order that, if your insurance will agree to pay for it, it'll cost them about $1,500. I get that 58-point panel from LabCorp for $250. So you have to pay out of pocket for that test, but you get a lot of information for that money. And then the analysis and review, my time to go over those test results and explain everything to you and give you a written plan of action and my recommendations for diet, exercise, and research-based supplements is usually $300. That usually takes about an hour. So that basic initial workup is usually $700, $800, $900, depending on which extra tests we might add. Like I said, I have patients in New York, New Jersey, Florida, Colorado, Kansas, Arizona, Washington, one in Hawaii, all over the place. So anywhere in the country I can send. LabCorp and Quest are both nationwide. Most people have one of those within 5 miles of any town that they live in. Get the blood work done there. I get the results online. Go over everything on the phone. Or if you're local, come into the office. Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Pleasure.
Good seeing you again.
Thanks for coming, Steve.
Take care.
Too.